What is up, everybody, and welcome back to our 10-acre homestead here in the mountains of North Idaho. And if you guys follow our main channel called The Lordens, we just did a video with our garden, building a new raised bed and just doing some general work throughout the garden.
Yep.
So if you haven't seen that video, maybe pause this one and go watch that first. And if you have seen that video, you know that this is kind of the video where we answer your guys' questions and just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we kind of break down that project. We'll go through the comments, see what you guys are saying. And kind of just go over it a little bit more in detail.
All right, guys, so this garden, we really have no idea how it's gonna do. We haven't even had a full season on this garden yet. As a lot of you guys may know, when the Rainies were here, they helped build this garden, and that was really late in the summer last year. That was in August.
Right.
So we haven't even really seen what's gonna happen. We've been trying, we've been doing the right steps getting up to this point, I think.
For sure, yeah.
So far.
This time last year, our garden was down where the sheep are now. You know, we were kind of just building that, getting that up to speed. You know, we built the greenhouse, so we really have not had a full garden season. And we're excited about it. You know, we got the end of a season last year, and it actually turned out really, really well. You know, because of the soil that we have here and because we're not super established, the raised beds are kind of the way to go. So I think that growing in those is going to be a really good thing. You know, we can layer up the soil. We don't have to dig down into like this clay. I think it's going to work really well.
Yeah, so we're really excited for all of it. So, I mean, I guess we could probably just break down what you guys can probably barely see behind us. So we have about a dozen, roughly 5 by 8 raised beds. They're around a foot off the ground in total height, so not really high beds. So we got about a dozen of those that we have brought soil in, we brought compost in, we brought peat moss in, and really built up the soil that's inside the bed. So we're doing really good with that.
Totally.
And we have a bit of space here. And so far, out of those 12 beds, about 6 of those, 5 of them are planted yet right now. They're all, 5 are planted right now. So we still have a little bit of room left. And I think the first thing that Liz and I have noticed is it is only that little bit of room left. We don't have that much stuff planted, and we're already kind of running out of space, it seems like. We don't even have everything planted.
It's really easy to want to do a lot when you're gardening, and when you have limited space, it can be kind of a bummer. You kind of have to pick and choose. You know, our garden area is still slightly under construction. You know, there needs to be more dirt work. We need to put more dirt over the edge so we eventually can fit some more garden beds in here. It's just going to take us a little bit of time. So right now it's kind of picking out the seeds and, you know, the plants that we want to grow, that we know we're going to eat, that we know grow well up here in North Idaho. You know, I think we're zone 6, so there's a lot of stuff that is already planted right now that started to sprout, that does okay, even though it's still pretty cold out. So it's kind of just picking and choosing and really breaking that down to see what we can and can't grow here.
Yeah, really learning it.
For sure.
Figuring it out. A lot of the seeds that we've bought this year are from a local seed distributor. They're all supposed to be seeds specific for this area. So seeds that somebody has gone through the process of learning what grows well here, and these are supposed to be those seeds that grow well here.
Yeah.
So we're stoked on that. I think so far right now, you can see the garlic over here, that's popped up. That's doing really well. We have potatoes in the ground, we have corn in the ground, we have spinach, broccoli.
Yep, cabbage, lettuce, kale.
Yep.
Carrots,
watermelon.
Yep, peas.
Peas.
Yeah, so when you really say it's quite a bit of stuff.
It's quite a bit of stuff, but none of it is to the quantity that we really need. So I guess obviously, well, it depends on the person, but I think our goal with the garden eventually, not necessarily this year, right now at this rate, but our goal with the garden is to be able to put some food away for the winter, not just have this novelty garden and do it just for fun in our free time. You know, if we're putting time into this, we want to kind of see some good payback from it.
Yeah, which is okay too. I mean, not everybody gardens just so that they can preserve, you know, so they'll have enough to preserve. I mean, it's definitely a fun hobby.
Right.
And I love to do flowers. That's a lot of fun too, which is just pretty much to look at.
Right.
You know, quite a lot of fun. But like Mike said, eventually our goal is to be able to have a good enough garden space to where we can preserve it and, you know, have it last us all year long. You know, this garden area, like with the size of it, we're just not quite there yet. But, you know, like we've said, this is the very beginning. This is our first year being able to do this. So we know that we have lots of years ahead of us and lots more changes will come for sure.
And it's pretty easy building these beds too. A lot of it are just junk pieces of log that we have laying around. You guys saw in our last video on the Lordens that we kind of just threw one of these beds together pretty quick, honestly. A few cuts with a chainsaw, fill it up with some good soil. We threw a few chunks of wood in there as well that we know are gonna break down over time.
Yep.
And really we can put one of these together pretty quick. And for how hot it is right now, this is pretty warm for this early, I would say. So we still have time. We still have time to make a few more beds and to throw some soil in and get seeds in the ground. At this point, we're not too late at all.
No, not at all.
So we still have plenty of time to expand. Like you saw in that last video, we saw an opportunity to where we could maybe move some around and fit another bed in there. So we did that, you know, threw it together and made it work. And that bed is already planted. So in our next video that you'll see on the Lordens, I think by this time, maybe you've seen it. So if you have seen that video on the Lordens, be sure to leave your comments down below if you have any questions, and then look for that video in the future on this channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, that bed that we built in the last video already has a hoop house over it, just a small one.
Yeah, we found out that covering these beds in plastic is really the ideal way to go. I've talked to people and they've said that, like, yeah, you guys have to have some sort of like cold frame or high tunnel because of the climate that we live in. It might be sunny, but it might not be warm, especially at night. And putting that plastic covering over the top really creates the perfect environment so that it can stay wet in there and stay warm. With these raised beds, you almost cannot water them enough. You know, the soil is really, really well draining. The wood of the beds itself soaks up a lot of that moisture. So you really have to give these things a ton of water.
Yeah, really stay on top of it.
Yeah.
In two different styles of those cold frames that we got going on. If you have seen that video, like I said, be sure to ask questions or leave comments below and we'll talk about them here. But so far we've seen very good success out of the cold frames, both styles.
Yeah.
We don't have a favorite over the other yet. Both of them, like, lots of condensation inside, super, super warm, which it's not only heating up the air, like that dirt inside, guys, is so much warmer than this dirt that we have right underneath our feet.
Right.
Considerably warmer. So they really do a great job. So all in all, the garden is actually doing pretty decent. I would say this is on track to be our best garden ever. Ever.
Literally ever. So we have asked you guys to leave your questions down below in this video on the Lordens channel and we'll answer them here. So we will do that now. We saw a couple of questions asking about the last frost date up here in North Idaho, and where we are right here, we're kind of like in our own little microclimate, it seems like, but we're getting pretty close. I think like the first week and a half, 2 weeks of May is when we're gonna really not drop below freezing at night anymore, and things are going to be safe to go outside. There's a ton of stuff that you can't plant until you're completely in the clear of frost, because those seeds won't germinate or seedlings will die. So we're getting pretty close. A couple more weeks until the last frost.
Yeah, and especially with these cold frames, that almost takes that first, second week of May timeline, and I think
right now, basically.
Put it back 3 more weeks with those cold frames. It really seems to help tremendously, I think.
Definitely, yeah.
Another question we had was if we would ever be interested in trying to get a freeze dryer or something like that, and that would be really cool. Liz and I are pretty big into the freeze-dried meals for camping or backpacking. We know that they're really, really good. We know that they're really lightweight, and we know that they last a really long time. So hopefully further down the road, we can definitely invest in a freeze dryer. That would be really huge for us. I know the one thing about freeze dryers is they are a little bit pricey.
Totally.
Especially probably for one of the good ones. So if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right with something like that, definitely. But not out of the cards by any means. We're just not quite to that level to where we can really say, yeah, we're ready to invest in something like that.
Right, because it definitely would be an investment, you know, and we've talked about it, and we would love to get one in the future. You know, we'd want to make sure that we are growing enough food to have it be worth it, obviously. You know, gardens are fun and all, but, you know, if you get a freeze dryer and you don't end up with enough food, then it's kind of like you got to weigh your options. So I would say definitely in the future for a freeze dryer.
Yeah, definitely in the future. And like
Yeah.
I said, I feel like we're on the tipping point from like novelty size garden to like actually being a productive garden. So hopefully we can crest over into like the productive side this year and really have some food to put away.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be cool.
For sure. As time goes on and we're able to develop our property even more, I think we're going to learn a lot about, you know, what can go where and, you know, what does a little bit better in the shade, what does a little bit better in the sun. And just as we're able to expand this area, I think that'll be a huge bonus.
And speaking of shade, I think we got to get out of it, man, because it is almost 80 degrees sitting here in the sun. And that about puts the end to this video. And like I said, guys, if you have not seen that other video on our channel, The Lordens, go check it out. Keep up on the videos there. Be sure to ask your questions in the comments down below. And then in just a few days' time, we'll go over at that project on this channel, Laid Back Living, answering those questions, chatting with you guys, and just having a good time.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next video.
She heard liquid.